Hello, virtual WSNers. Thank you for coming to my talk, Return of the King. What can acoustic telemetry tell us about the recovery of giant sea bass, which I am presenting on behalf of NOAA Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. I'd like to thank my co-authors, Chris Caldo, Alyssa Clevenstein, Marika Hanadig, and Drs. Lindsay Peavy and Ryan Friedman. Giant sea bass, hereafter GSB, have a large range, covering both California and Baja California. They are the largest bony fishes on reefs across the Californias and are generally considered apex predators with a wide dietary niche. Once considered common across the Californias, their populations crashed in the early 20th century due to overfishing. This has been attributed to their slow growth rates and that they form spawning aggregations, which makes them easy targets. We know that GSBs aggregate to spawn on rocky reefs during summer months in shallower waters before, presumably, heading to deeper waters during the winter, though empirical data are lacking. They are also highly mobile, which makes them difficult to account for when marine managers consider MPA placement and efficacy. Some big questions that we have relate to their habitat preferences and behavioral patterns. Specifically, we want to know what their movement looks like across heterogeneous environments. Further, what will their populations look like since being put under state protection? To address some of these questions, this study specifically focuses on the movement of GSBs around Santa Barbara Island, which is located within Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. Due to its remoteness and rich marine environment, Santa Barbara Island, hereafter SBI, is an ideal location for this study. Between 2018 and 19, sanctuary divers deployed 19 acoustic receivers, denoted here as listening stations, around SBI. This habitat map shows the extent of the receiver array as well as the heterogeneity of the benthos around the island, which has a plethora of rocky reefs and soft sediment. We'll come back to this heterogeneity later. To establish and service the acoustic receivers, we utilized our research vessel as our platform on this remote island. Sensor arrays are composed of sand screws and or rebar, depending on the substrate, and are placed on the benthos at depths between 35 and 80 feet. Aside from deploying the array, we also opportunistically place acoustic transmitters in GSBs. Here, we see GSBs circling a bait trap on our most recent trip. We used a Trident ROV to capture GSB behavior before divers enter the water. This figure shows detections of individually tagged GSBs from 2018 and 19, standardized for the age of each site. Here, sites refer to the location of the receivers. The more red the color, the more detections recorded at that site. Also noted here is the State Marine Reserve in the southeast corner of the island. And if we focus on the northeast corner of SBI, we see a disproportionate number of detections, which may indicate an aggregation hotspot. Remember that these fish are highly mobile and can swim laps around an island of this size. When we bin sites based on cardinal points, we see nice groupings. On the x-axis, we see site name, but focus instead on the cardinal points written above. The y is given in the overall frequency of detections at each site from 2018 and 19. What I want you to take away from this figure is that the mound inshore area, that northeast corner, is clearly a GSB hotspot. Further, we can see that the three stations grouped in red, the corridor sites, are also frequently visited, which suggests that GSBs may be transiting to and from SBI. When we look at the habitat map of SBI again, things start to make a little more sense. The circles represent those same group sites, with red specifically referring to the corridor sites. We see that GSBs tend to aggregate on rocky reefs adjacent to deeper water, and that they transit through these deep, sandy corridors. If you recall from the previous figure, we also saw a spike in detections around the southeast corner of the island, which is an MPA. However, we expected to see a lot more detections in that group based on location and habitat. However, there was a rather large sea lion haul-out right there, and from our personal experience, GSBs are unimpressed by these playful pinnipeds. So, we have identified an aggregation site, but what is its significance? What are the GSB's behavior there? Is this a spawning and or feeding site? And as we continue to see the effects of the MPA network, will GSBs ultimately be winners? And what do these corridors within a heterogeneous landscape mean for GSB movement? Do they move at deeper depths? This is an ongoing investigation. We just recovered the 2020 receiver data and tagged more individuals, so stay tuned. We could not have pulled off this project without the captains and crew of our research vessel, our excellent dive team, the sanctuary staff who helped make this happen, and our funders. Please feel free to reach out via email and or social media. And thanks for tuning in.